Welcome into this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast. Corey Moen, Evan Byrne. Evan, how are we doing?
I'm good. I'm exhausted. Worked all 7 games this week.
He's
I'm
beat.
s- I'm beat.
Hey, I'd be mentally exhausted too if I had to watch that pitching. Um, I'm sorry. Look, actually, you know what? I'm gonna be honest. They've actually pitched well since the New York series.
hmm
Um,
Good bounce back.
the problem is you can't expect everybody to pitch well. Okay,
Correct.
like um, like Rodriguez, he stinks. Um, you know the thing is like not everyone's been bad for the most part. Chad Patrick's been wow. That guy's
He's
been
been dealing.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Jackson Churio, after striking out 5 times, his first game against the Yankees, hit 2 home runs today, so he's getting back to his hitting ways. But the other guy, I can't say for the rest for the other guys on the roster. Um, you know, Contreras and Yelich, they've really scuffled. Um, you know, Bryce Terang's had a 10-game hitting streak. So, I mean, this is just kind of par for the course. Some guys are hitting right now, some guys aren't. But it feels like we're having more guys who aren't hitting more so than the guys who are.
hmm
Hoskins really has gotten off to a slow start. But, that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about the Brewers. Um, let's get into the games. The Bucks played like 4 games this week. Had a demoralizing loss to the Atlanta Hawks. Bounced back against the Phoenix Suns. Able to knock off the Sixers and able to beat the Heat in overtime last night. And as we sit recording this podcast, they're currently up on the New Orleans Pelicans, 18-11. Once again, the Pelicans are missing half their team. And that's basically these are basically the teams that Milwaukee played this week. They're just missing. They just played against teams who were just missing half their guys. I mean, really outside the Suns, who was just missing KD, but that's kind of like a huge chunk of your team.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. The Bucks played last Sunday against the Atlanta Hawks. Let's just say that the Atlanta Hawks destroyed them. The game wasn't really overly close, to be honest with you. It was a wash from beginning to end. I believe the one moment in that game, I still think he ended up playing, was when Trae Young twisted his ankle on Pat Connaughton's foot. But honestly, outside of that, there wasn't much from this game to write home about.
Yeah, I got nothing besides they got their asses beat.
Waxed. They got waxed. The final score in that game was I believe this is the final game of this series. It was 145-124. I mean, and this is how surprising it was. Their high lottery pick, Zachary Richichet, he had 36 points in 35 minutes, which actually reading it, it's a little more insane. Dyson Daniels, who, is a very underrated player in this league at 22. Trae Young at 19. George Niang at 17. I mean, yeah, they weren't going to win. There was no way they were going to win. Giannis basically did everything. 31, Kuzma at 25, KPJ at 28. But those 3 guys, that was most of their scoring. But they just couldn't. They couldn't stop them. Hawks shot 53% from the field. 15 offensive rebounds. 36 assists. Bucks had 14 turnovers. Hawks had 62 points in the paint. I mean, literally any sort of data that you had against the Bucks in this game, it very much was just not going to work in their favor. They just played awful. They came out flat, and the Hawks took advantage. So, what did you see in Milwaukee's performance against Atlanta?
I mean, it sucks because the first quarter they scored 44 points, the Bucks, but then they give up 37. So it's like you kind of eliminate the large lead that you get from that first quarter, and then same with the second quarter again, 45-31 for them in their favor. But yeah, that third quarter really just kind of eliminated them being outscored 36-17. I felt like that was the turning point of the game where after that, obviously they still scored 32 in the fourth, but they just dug themselves in a hole, showed hints of maybe coming back, and then would just immediately give it back up. Um, Again, you mentioned the 14 turnovers. The Hawks scored 28 points off a turnover, so mathematically, they realistically scored a basket every single time they gave up a turnover. So that's always gonna give you a lead that's hard to kind of come back from. But yeah, no, I really, I think I turned this one off early. I'm like, I know how this game is gonna go. There is no point in watching this. Just kind of had it on the background, but yeah, with Zachary kind of going off, you knew that it was kind of game over. When the role players are going off like that, I wouldn't call him a role player, but not your big name star is going off, then you kind of know then how the game is roughly going to go.
Yeah, and the other problem I had with this game too, there was just no resistance from like either team because the Bucks were in the second quarter. They were very much in this game, but the problem is, I'm sorry, 80 points in the second quarter, like over 80 points in the second quarter, like they didn't deserve to win. They didn't deserve to win. They showed no urgency defensively. It looked like, it honestly looked like this is probably the worst game Milwaukee's played all season. Okay. You cannot allow 80 points in the second quarter. Like, I understand scoring averages in the NBA are what they are now. People don't play defense as much anymore, blah, blah, blah. 80 points, it's not that bad. That was, you know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of the early days of Adrian Griffin, where everybody's just going up and down the floor. There's no resistance, there's no urgency, there's no resistance being shown. People they just looked like they just didn't care.
They were
That's what that
winning
game
games,
reminded
but
me
it
of.
was yeah, they were winning games. It was like 130 to
That
123, so they're still giving up a crap ton of points.
That's what it reminded me of. It's just, it just felt like the Hawks could do whatever they wanted offensively. Could just go up and down the floor. The Bucks were going to do nothing to stop them. Nothing to stop them. And I don't like the way the teams play defense because they have good defensive players. But honestly, really what this comes down to is this team's just simply too old. Really, and we have to start accepting that. Okay? Ryan Rollins can defend, but Ryan Rollins on most teams is like an 8th or ninth guy. Giannis, like, I love you. Giannis can still play defense. Brook Lopez can still fill it up. But the problem that you have with these two, okay, is because Giannis can't defend everybody. Okay? Like, Giannis can defend most people, but you're not asking Giannis to guard like a 7'2" big. Brook Lopez becomes exposed when he has to defend a big that can shoot. The problem and the problems that have ailed Milwaukee this year just seem to continue. Whether they're turning the ball over too much, or they're allowing too many offensive rebounds, or they can't have they don't have the personnel to stay in front of their guys. That's the issues I have. Is they have good defenders, but it just feels like they don't have a good defensive scheme. Because sometimes I don't know what the defensive scheme is, because it seems like there's a lot of teams that get just a bunch of second chance opportunities. And, they only have, like, it feels like they only coach, like, 3 guys to get rebounds. Like, everybody should be, like, hey, this is mine. Like, and the problem is they don't have that. It feels like, here, Giannis, you grab it, or Brooke, you grab it. It's,
Yep, they all look at it and expecting the other guy to grab it,
yeah.
then the offense grabs it again.
Like, and again, I'm not talking about, like, bad bounces where, like, it's a long miss and, like, it's
Shoots back
crazy. I'm
right
not
at him.
talking about that, but it's like the simple stuff. It's the simple stuff that we're talking about. And, it's just irritating because, I know that they have, on paper, they have a good defensive team, but they don't always show it. And, it's just, that's a concern to me. Like, we're heading right into the playoffs. I'm still concerned about, like, the offensive rebounding, the defense. Can they get enough offense? Is Damian Lillard going to come back? There's just so many worries with this team. And, right now it just feels like their wins are being picked up off teams that, don't have a vast majority of their roster.
Yeah, especially obviously with Lillard being out, that's a huge killer because obviously he's our second highest scorer per game. But being able to run the offense, I feel like there really is no one. And again, going back on defense, we really don't have anyone outside of Giannis. Maybe you can throw in Gary Trent here or there, but there's just again the mentality of let's make sure the team is older and not to get anyone of youth. Kind of shows up a lot, and this is one of those games where you're just letting all these random guys make your team look like you're a bottom seed, and it's frustrating, especially with the playoffs coming, where it's like, well, if we're not beating the Hawks or we're giving up 145 points to the Hawks, what are we going to do to the Cavaliers, the Boston Celtics, all the top seeded teams? I think you're muted on mine, but I'm not
Oh
100%.
yeah, I think I am. I'm
There
sorry.
you
All
go.
right, no, I was. Yeah, because I was talking about because I literally just asked. I was like, speaking of random guys, who's 35 in the game, and like
Pete
kind
Nance.
of just. So now we're getting Pete Nance minutes in the first quarter. See, that's what I'm talking about. Really, Pete
Can
Nance.
you tell Giannis isn't playing? And they've already
I can
clinched a
absolutely
playoff
tell
seed?
that. I think it's Giannis and
Oh,
Connaughton are both out.
yeah.
But
It's that time of year.
it's that time of year where Giannis is like, the load managing. And I understand. I'm not complaining about that. I get it. I'd load manage too if I had to be carry half the offense on my back just so that we could win games. Honestly, I've had this take maybe they should think about trying to get Taylor Jenkins. Maybe they should consider if this team bows out early, maybe they should, you know. And again, I don't know if they should fire Doc Rivers because it just kind of screams off instability, but Taylor Jenkins, I feel like right now is a better option than Doc Rivers, if I'm being
I
completely
just
honest.
I just get so mad knowing that Kenny Atkinson was a choice and they went with Agent Griffin.
They just well, and I think the take I had at the time was I never said Kenny Atkinson was a bad coach. I just don't know if he was the right coach for that roster because knowing what we know now, right? Because all the team that Kenny Atkinson coached was that really young Brooklyn Nets team when they had Jarrett Allen and Karis LeVert and D'Angelo Russell. So at the time I was like, no, don't hire Kenny Atkinson, but it was also but he's more of a developmental coach is the take I
Hmm.
had. And I was wrong to say that, but again, I just think that's how teams felt. It was like, well, we're not saying he's a bad coach, but the last time he coached a team, he got shoved out by KD and Kyrie. So who knows how good of a coach he is. And really that's everything. Um that's legitimately that's everything to how you're because Steve Nash got a job, but Steve Nash didn't have any qualifications to be an NBA
God,
coach.
I forgot about him.
A lot of people did because he had no qualifications other than hey, KD and Kyrie liked him. That was it. But I mean, look, and knowing what we know now, we had Kenny Atkinson absolutely, but and again, everybody was very uneasy about the Griffin hire, despite the fact he went 31-13. It's just we were just winning off oh yeah, this team's has Giannis and has Dane. There we go, Pete.
Yeah, look at that rebound.
There we go. So moving on to the next game.
A very good bounce back.
Yes. Mike Budenholzer made his long-awaited return to Milwaukee. I believe this is his first game back in
Yeah,
Milwaukee.
I remember them posting about it.
Yep.
First time back in Milwaukee.
First. Oh my god. So, Mike Budenholzer had a very successful 5-year tenure. Kind of miss him, to be quite honest with you. But anyway,
I do until the playoffs.
What?
I do until the playoffs happen.
Yeah, everybody does. Anyways, they knocked off the Phoenix. I believe the final score was 134 to 124.
133, 123.
Oh, 133, 123?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. One off. The Phoenix, they didn't have Kevin Durant. They did have Devin Booker, and Devin Booker, did, that's one.
Yeah.
That's one of those guys who's not gonna be able to, you're not stopping Devin Booker in the mid range. He's way too, he is who he is. Grayson Allen though at 23. Yeah, look at that. Devin Booker had 39, Tyus Jones 16,
Yeah.
Colin Gillespie 18. Grayson Allen, nice little, against his former team. But it was basically, but Milwaukee's side, some things never change, and one of the things that didn't change was, Giannis at 37, and then Ryan Rollins. I believe this was his career high, 23 points. Um, so I guess what did you see in Milwaukee's performance against Phoenix?
Well, this was their franchise record for highest field goal percentage at 68.9% shooting. They shot almost 60% as well from the three, only missing one free throw as well. So super efficient throughout the whole game. I felt comfortable with it, especially seeing a lot of the guys, again, looking at it, seeing 50%, 66, 77, 75. Everyone was shooting above 50% who played. Um, Taking a minimum. Gary Trent only took 3 shots. Everyone else took more. Um, it was nice to see the efficiency, especially seeing it from guys like Ryan Rollins, Pat Connaughton as well. But it was a really good bounce back, especially from that last game that they played against the Suns with the game winner. I think my biggest takeaway, again, you kind of mentioned it, Ryan Rollins, huge contribution, 23 points, but threw in 5 rebounds and 5 assists as well with a couple steals. So not only on the scoring side, but also helped on the defensive end as well. And then being able to hold, obviously Devin Booker still at 39 points, but being able to defend him a lot better on the 3 point shot, only going 3 for 11. So that was always a plus too, because we know Devin Booker has, I said Devin Williams. Devin Booker has a mid range shot, but the three is either it's on or it's completely off. So that was one of the nights that we got him on the off end. Yeah, no, bench did all right. Forced 13 turnovers, but ourselves had 18 turnovers, so not the best. But no, just a good bounce back, and glad to see the efficiency shooting, being able to shoot almost 70% consistently for the game. Field goal percentage wise, and then obviously their 3 point as well.
Well, first of all, and here's the other thing too. Budo's better watch out because he could be on the chopping block very soon. Like the Suns are just cycling through these coaches like left and right. Going for the playoffs last year, they're probably going to miss it this year. That's not. I don't think that's the expectation that they set for themselves before the season started. And look, they just have to admit they just have to blow it up. Like they have to do whatever they can. They got to go. They really got to blow it up because here's the thing. This partnership of KD and Booker and Bradley, it's just not, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. They can't defend. They can't defend a nosebleed for God's sakes. There's no strong defenders on that roster. Okay, they're 35 and 41. Okay, they got 2 top 75 players, I believe, and they're just not. Wait, Booker's not top 75, is he?
I don't think so.
I didn't think he was. Okay, all right. They got one. But they got 3.
You got Kevin Durant.
Yeah, Kevin freaking Durant. Okay, and the problem is these teams just don't know how to build around Kevin Durant.
Being the number one guy.
Literally, it's mind-boggling because and everything. Really what this comes down to is front office structure. Why was Kevin Durant able to win in Golden State? Good front office structure. Why wasn't it successful for KD in Brooklyn? Front office structure was good. Team was top heavy. Why is it not working in Phoenix? Front office structure is not good, and owners too involved. That's what this comes down to. This is the name of the game. See, you just think teams just think, or ownership just thinks that, hey, did he miss that? Jesus.
Yeah.
Teams and ownership just think that, hey, the more we cycle through the coaches, hopefully we'll hit on one. But it's that's not the way it works.
Yeah, it's the team.
It's the team. Kevin Durant doesn't have a good team around him. That's why the team's probably not going to make the playoffs. Kevin Durant didn't have like a great team around him in Brooklyn. I mean, he had like Kyrie and he had James, but like that doesn't make a whole team. Like it should not be hard to try to win with Kevin Durant. Like you should be able to like hit some pieces around him. Like Kevin Durant is probably the most like he's not a guy who goes out and scores 45 every night. Like he's a guy who shares the basketball. But the problem is it's just he elevates other people's game, but it's just like, they just don't have a good front office structure. But then they're not and he's still playing his best basketball. So I just don't understand why. Like Phoenix just has to ball this up. They're gonna have to get rid of those contracts, and they're gonna have to but and again by doing that, you're gonna also get rid of Budenholzer because Budenholzer at this stage of his coaching career is not gonna want to go through a rebuild. So it's like how long before you admit, yeah, we probably should just give up on this partnership because it's just not gonna work. It's not gonna work, and we're getting farther and farther from what our goal is.
I could be wrong. Was Budenholzer wasn't the coach last year, right? This is his first year? Or was he there last year too? I don't remember. So I know it was Monty Williams and then someone replaced him. Was that
Frank Vogel.
Budenholzer? Vogel, that's what it was. Yeah,
It was
yeah.
Frank
Okay.
Vogel. I believe they got knocked out in the first round.
Yep. Fired him and then hired
They
Budenholzer.
got swept by the Timberwolves.
Yep.
He got fired from there. And they hired Mike Budenholzer because they thought like
Okay.
Budenholzer, with how successful he usually is in the regular season. But again, like John Horst stacked good teams for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, even if they didn't, like Budenholzer is not a good playoff coach. Like we can sit here and admit, like, and I love the fact that we went up to the finals in 2021. We can admit that we got some breaks along the way to help us get to that point. Like we can admit that. It's that like I think every Bucks fan would admit that as fun as that 2021 finals run was, we got a lot of lucky breaks to get to that point. Whether it's James Harden. I mean, look, they needed James Harden, in the first 2 minutes to mess up his hamstring. They needed, Kyrie to accidentally step on Giannis's foot going up for a layup. And that was basically Kevin Durant had to go demigod mode, and he nearly pulled it off.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was cooking that whole series.
Oh my god! I mean,
playing like 40 minutes
in a losing effort. That is the best series I've ever seen Kevin Durant play. I'm like, holy shit, this guy does not miss. But again, and again, we can admit that hey, Phoenix was a favorable matchup. Like. They were a good team. I'm not saying that, but like that was a favorable matchup with Chris Paul and Bridges and all those other guys. Like that was a good matchup for us. So and look that's what they're gonna have to deal with is playoff Bud when he comes alive. I mean, you just gotta think like that's what you gotta deal with. All right, so moving on to the next game. This is one of those games where, the final score wasn't indicative of the game because Milwaukee, God's sakes, in the first quarter against the Philadelphia 76ers,
horrible.
Really struggled. And again, the part that concerns me is the fact that they didn't have Tyrese Maxey or Paul George. Like, they were missing a
Yeah, they're eliminated, so they're just throwing in random dudes.
And literally, they were up like 39-25 after one. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, they were down 17 at one point.
But Milwaukee, I literally very early in the second quarter was like, all right, we got to lock in. They really cut into the lead, took the lead, and then they were finally able to win. But God forbid, that was like, why are they playing so bad against the Sixers? They don't have anybody. So what was your takeaway from this game?
Obviously with the next game against the Heat, it was starting up the 2-game streak that Giannis has with the triple-double. First stat line in NBA history with, I'm assuming it's 35, 15, and 20, I think it was. And then, percentage wise, he shot 63%. So first stat line with that. obviously a monster game from him. But outside of him, I really want to give it to the bench guys. AJ Green 12, Gary Trent 13, Ryan Rounds started, but also chipped in 10 as well. So a lot of the role player guys were able to contribute as well, especially helpful in that second quarter span. A lot of defensive plays allowed for open shots from Giannis, and obviously Giannis was passing a lot with a career high of 20 assists, but knowing the final, I had to rewatch the game due to work, but being able to see, I didn't realize how far down they went originally, and then obviously you can see the score and the turnaround. Really good, just quick bounce back basketball. Going into the second quarter, they didn't wait until the third or fourth to start. They were able to kind of pull it off instantly, and then not really turn around from there going on. But again, outside Giannis, I was just pretty impressed with a lot of the role player guys, and just kind of hoping that these are the guys who are showing up later into the playoffs. Again, Kevin Porter Jr. Talk more about him in the next game, obviously, but very good. Obviously, this is one of those games where the Bucks are known to lose these games, and it was starting to look like that immediately into the first quarter. But again, it's always better to go down early than later. Um, but the Bucks, really any team, I feel like in Wisconsin is notorious for playing down to the teams who have no one playing, nothing to lose for. Um, their biggest issue, I think, was I think it's is it Adam or Adembona? 13 of 15. I think he made like 12 shots in a row. I felt like he was getting to the paint literally every time he was holding the ball. Obviously, he didn't shoot any threes as a center, but 13 of 15 shooting, I just felt like every time he got the ball, he made it, um, which was super frustrating. But really, outside of him, Quentin Grimes and I always botch his name, but the guy who dunked on LeBron, Yasubli, Yabusu, that guy.
Oh,
But yeah,
Yabusele.
yeah, Yabusele. Those are they're three big guys, but yeah, Bono was definitely one of the guys who was giving him a lot of trouble throughout that game. Again, due to them not having Kelly Oubre, Andre, obviously Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey as well, and Paul George. Literally, no one was playing, and that they still went down almost 20 points immediately.
Yeah, and Bona, like, it's so funny because there was a stat line that said heading into that game he averaged like 4 points.
Oh, of course.
He had 28. The guy didn't even look to score, and he had 28 points. Well, this is easier than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? Like, they always do that. Every single time they always do this, where it's like, okay, oh, guy averaged like 5 points. Well, have a career game. But like,
Yeah, you can tell he's getting more minutes.
I don't know. It's just like, what are we doing? It's like, what are we doing? It's like he only had 4. Look, I mean, again, they came out like flat as hell. Like they just didn't, But again, they were able to pull it off. So like, can I complain too much? A little bit, because it's like you shouldn't have to do that. And Quentin Grimes, Quentin Grimes has been balling since he got traded from New York. 24 points. He's always been a talented player. Jared Butler, like, and again, Lonnie Walker, like he had a couple good moments there, but honestly, you're all right outside of that. It's just like, yeah, I mean, it's Giannis, it's Brooke, it's Kuz at 16. It's guys are chipping in off the bench, but still, it's one of those things where it's just frustrating to get behind by so much and then have to immediately just claw your way back. And they were
Correct.
able to do that.
Do it from the start.
Exactly, like 56% from the field. But still 11 offensive rebounds. Not bad for a team that quote unquote doesn't have anybody. But yeah, I don't know. It was just like, this was one of those games where I was just like, who the hell is half this team? And then, these are actual NBA players, and the Bucks probably came into this game and were like, this will be a walk in the park. Like, these guys aren't, like, we could just kind of roll over, and that's kind of what they did. Luckily, we had Giannis in this game, because I feel like without him, it would have been, like, we probably would have had to, like, work a lot harder for this win.
Yeah, and that obviously is showing today with obviously playing yesterday overtime game at night to that back-to-back game that they're playing right now. So The Heat game, I got right out of work at overtime. I sat in my car and watched that before I left. Holy smokes. Again, one of those games where, why are we losing? Why is this close?
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, obviously Bam Adebayo was the main reason. 31 points.
Ba-
Burks, 24.
Bam made some shots.
Yeah, he did.
Bam was making some shots. I was like, oh my god, this guy is, you know. And again, the Heat, like, despite the fact that their roster isn't probably the greatest, they're still a well coached team. They're still the Miami Heat. It does not matter who the Miami Heat have in their roster. They're still like a well coached ass team.
Yeah. As long as Spoelstra's coaching, you never know what you're getting.
Spoelstra's still one of the best coaches in the NBA. I don't care what their record is. I don't care if they're Jimmy Butler or not. That is still like they could have 5 homeless people out on the floor and they're gonna give you a game. Like it's just that's I'm serious. It's like some guys are just like you can't name half that Heat roster, and admittedly I couldn't. But well I've always known about Khalil Ware. I've always known Ware was a good solid player. But but it's kind of the same thing as the Sixers were missing like a lot of their guys. And when you start it with Bam Adebayo, who you know about Duncan Robinson, you know about Ware, you know about Pelly Larson, you know about like Alec Burks, right? And then you get Davion Mitchell, but like it's just still, and Giannis again had to go off 36 points. Kevin Porter Jr., who I think was like really the star of this game, I think he was made some big time shots. I believe he made one in the overtime period to kind of
Yep,
help them
the
win.
seal the deal almost.
Yep, absolutely. And KPJ, like as he has been called today, he is a bucket getter.
He,
He's been such a revelation ever since he came over from LA. Like he's been a very very good player, and I hope that Milwaukee signs him next year because I just think you need that instant offense guy coming off the bench.
yep, he's fast. He's a lefty. He knows what he's doing. He's shifty, and we traded Marjan for him.
Yeah,
I still get baffled over that trade. But yeah, him playing 40 minutes off the bench and being able to contribute throughout that entire game, literally until like the last 10 seconds, with that tough floater right in front of the free throw line. I felt confident with him. He almost had a triple double as well, just 2 assists shy, but he's feeling himself, and I think Giannis really likes him. I feel like they connect well, and it's a good duo. Both being speedy, both being shifty, being able to move down the court a lot quicker than some of the other guys. So being able to have him off the bench, I feel like is going to be key with the playoffs coming up, especially if some of these other guys might not step up as much as he will, or how we're expecting him to.
yeah. And the one player that continues to baffle me is Kyle Kuzma. He only had 9 points. I don't know. The reason why he baffles me is because sometimes I question the shots he takes. Um, because sometimes it was like throw like just random junk just up at the rim. Like what are you doing? Like honestly, like I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to but it's like sometimes he'll just throw some shit up at the rim, and I'm just like, dude, like
You
what?
don't have to do that.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell? Like it's just sometimes he feels like he's like either locked in or he's fucking around. I can't really tell the difference between the two. And I just like when he just throws this random junk up at the rim, where he's trying to draw a foul. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell are you doing? You just wasted a whole possession. Like some of the shit that he does is like, but then he'll make like a really good play. So then I go from being mad at him to not being mad. Like this inconsistency for me is so maddening, and like just the lack of like attention to detail. Sometimes it can really just like piss me off because again he's a good player, but sometimes he just does dumb shit. Like he's like a smaller version of JaVale McGee, where he's a good player, but they just can't get out of their own way, and they always do dumb shit on the basketball floor to be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, it just sucks because like he started off after that trade. He started off hot. He looked good, but now it's like, now Kevin Porter Jr. has definitely stepped up, and he's definitely taken a few steps back. But again, still a good player to have
Yes.
out there, just not
You Here,
contributing how he was at post trade deadline.
no, and here's what, and you know what that is. I've heard people talk about this. It's what we refer to as the pop after a trade deadline. You know, when a guy, when you get a shiny new toy, you're just like, oh my god, this works really well.
Yep.
God, look at that. Oh, look, 15 points. This is who Kyle Kuzma is, 15 points. And then you start to play with the toy a little bit. Then you just kind of get sick of it. Then it starts to, then you're just like, then you're just kind of bored with it. Like, and then the toy kind of becomes, it is what it is. It eventually just like, just doesn't work as well as when you first got it. That's who Kyle Kuzma is. He just, oh my God, Kyle Kuzma is new. Like he's coming from the Wizards. Oh my God, he was a part of a championship team. He's gonna be that third scoring option. And then you start to, and then you get 2 months in, and you're just like, I like him. I don't love him. You still like the toy, you still play with it, but you're not like, it's not the same gift as you got it on Christmas morning, where it's like, that the sparkle is gone.
It's showing Giannis like kicking it with these two random fans.
Which, by the way, how come they have better seats than Giannis does? I don't understand that
Hmm.
either. Like, I don't understand why NBA players have to sit.
Yes,
I don't get
it's
that. I don't get that.
especially the Lakers where it's like, oh, who would you sit next to? You? Oh, my parents. What about you? LeBron.
Well, they got. Well, I mean, they got they got money on money on money. Like if you could afford those seats, dude, I'm telling you, your dad's probably like a lawyer or something like that. Like something. Because like I've sat courtside ish, like I've sat close to, but I've never been on the floor. And I don't even know if you can do that. Can you do that? Like the people who do that in Milwaukee are like high rollers.
Yeah, I've done it
Which
just not for a Bucks game.
which by the way, speaking of high rollers, has Jimmy Haslam, has he ever been to a Bucks game? Have you seen him?
Hmm. I haven't really seen him around, not that I've noticed, because I know Edens and Lazary used to walk around, especially Lazary. I've met him at a Bucks game before. Right as he started, I remember meeting him.
He's probably a nice guy. Probably
Yeah,
billionaire nice. Like, you know, probably, I don't know. I don't want to assume all billionaires are the same. You know, I, he still has, I believe Aaron Rodgers dated his daughter at one point,
hmm
Edens. Um, I think Aaron Rodgers, I believe, is a part owner of the Bucks still. I don't know if that's still a thing.
From what I know, or he might have sold a little bit. I don't remember.
I thought I read he was like some sort of part owner or something, like a partial stake. I have no idea. But I don't know. I haven't, Haslam. It would be great to see. I just don't like when people just buy teams like that and they just don't like spend any
Just to
time
have
with
it.
them.
Yep.
Yeah, like spend a little time with the city at least, because Milwaukee is a good city, and I think the people there are very nice and inviting and all this other stuff. But I don't know. I just don't like being a billionaire and you just buying a stake in the team and just not ever going
Do
to the
anything.
city.
Just for the title.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't like that. Spend all the time with the city. Look, it's not that hard. Like the thing that I don't like about owners sometimes, it's just it feels like they feel like they need to be involved, and it's just like you know nothing about basketball. You barely watch. Oh, that Gary Trent Jr. 3 was crazy.
Yep.
Okay, like I don't like owners need to stop thinking they know more than people who actually do this for a living, because owners, I get it, they're smart in certain circumstances, but like, dude, I would never trust an owner to build a team. Like 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 I've never heard of an involved owner just being like, oh my god, like I was so involved, I helped my team win. It's like no, that never happens. The more involved your owner is, that's like a death sentence, because like you're not
They
gonna
probably
win.
don't like them.
You're not gonna win dick. Like look at the Cowboys. Cowboys have been irrelevant. I mean, they're still talked about in the media and stuff, but like on the field, they've been very irrelevant for like the past 25 years, and it's because Jerry Jones gets himself involved, and he doesn't need to be.
Yeah, who's the Clippers owner? I always forget about him. He's
Oh,
involved, but
Ballmer.
he's cool.
Yeah,
I
Ballmer's
like
cool.
him.
Ballmer doesn't get involved. Ballmer's like, I'm gonna have like 50. He just loves basketball. He's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have like I'm gonna have like 700 toilets so nobody can miss the game. Nobody's waiting in
Here's the
lines. I'm
the
like,
wall,
what?
the wall that he made with like the 60 some
I
rows.
yeah I yeah that see that's the shit that owners need to be doing. Like I love that. Just like, hey, yeah, give us help us with the wall. Help us you know, have a bunch of help us build a bunch of toilets so nobody can miss the game. I love that. Like no lines, that's genius. That was genius. So, all right, I'm sorry I got on my soapbox just a little bit here. Evan, do you have anything else?
Outside of tonight, there's only 2 games left.
Yep.
Both against the Pistons, one away to start, and then the last one, a matinee game on Sunday at noon
Ooh.
to end the regular season.
Okay. Yep. And Evan and I will be there to have that for you. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this latest edition of the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast. We'll see you guys next week.